fact that food's not even a question. It's the craziest thing to me. It's the craziest thing to me that the thing you do the most every day, all day, every day of your life, multiple times a day, it doesn't affect how you are, your health. It's just crazy. And then also people feel very threatened to change their lifestyle. They don't want to change. They'd rather do the most invasive, crazy, expensive, hard to heal from surgery or whatever than to just change the way they eat.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Eat Real to Heal podcast. I am your host, Nicolette Richer. And on today's show, we have the lovely, intelligent, adventurous, courageous, beautiful Danielle Arsenault. Danielle Arsenault, she is the founder of Pachavega Living Foods Education. She is a lover of many, many, many things. She's passionate about being a raw food chef, about being a plant-based nutrition educator. She's an outdoor enthusiast, a mountain lover, ukulele player, and so much more. She's also the author of a beautiful cookbook and a humanitarian, a vegan, and a mama. So it is her dream to educate the world about the healing power of plant-based whole foods, which is why we have her on the show today. Now, you're going to discover so much in this podcast. One of the biggest things is how Danielle had a near-death experience in 2021 and how that changed her relationship with the world and life as she knew it. It really gave her the realization that we are all truly blessed to be alive. And she teaches us that we can achieve anything that we put our minds to, and that we have the ability to make all of our dreams come true. So this is why I'm so excited to have her on the show. We dive into so much more. So definitely listen right through to the end, and then we'll have all her contact info in the show notes for you. Now, before we dive into the podcast, let me share with you two exciting programs that we just launched. One of them is our nutrition and detox coaching program. This is our signature program. We've launched it before. We've graduated dozens of students, and the carts are opening again for that program. This is where I teach you 25 years of all the information I've ever collected and learned and studied about using food as medicine to reverse chronic disease. So everything from restoring nutrient deficiencies, supporting your body and properly detoxifying safely, but ultimately how to use food as medicine to reverse the leading chronic diseases that are plaguing our societies, our citizens, our communities, our loved one. And I'm going to teach you to be a 100% certified coach so that you can work with clients to teach them how to reverse their diseases. Because right now we have 1 in 2 people dying and being diagnosed with chronic diseases that are completely preventable and reversible. So we need people like you to sign up for this program. It is a 6-month program. The first 3 months, you go through the classes and you learn the art and science of using food as medicine to reverse the disease. The last 3 months goes into helping you launch your business. That means you're going to create a website, you're going to get clients, you're going to put yourself out there, you're going to start attracting clients and serving these people with your newfound knowledge so that they can reclaim their lives and reclaim their health, and then they can go out there and really truly start living. So if you want to sign up for that program, head on over to greenmustache.com. That's GREENMOUA. No, I don't even know my own website. Green Mustache, MOUSTACHE.com. And all the information will be there as well. Definitely sign up to our newsletter because that is where all the information is going out in. And of course, we are launching our chef training certification. So this is where we're teaching restaurants and their owners and their chefs and their entire kitchen staff how to prepare foods that reverse chronic diseases, how to add menu items where anybody who has diabetes and autoimmune disorder, heart disease, is food sensitivities, where they can come in and get a meal that is actually going to heal them instead of harm them. So this is an exceptional course. We're going to be training 1,200 restaurants this year. So if you know of a restaurant in your community that wants to participate, definitely hook them up with us. And of course, email us at info@richerhealth.ca, because we'd love to get you as a partner to promote these two programs. And of course, we're going to give you a beautiful commission for doing so. So reach out to us and join and help us reach our 22 million strong goals of helping 22 million people by 2030 reverse their chronic degenerative diseases. Now back to the podcast with Danielle Arsenault. I look so forward to you reaching the end. And so you know what to do. You're going to share this podcast with everybody. I'll see you at the end, everyone. Bye. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Eat Real to Heal podcast. I'm your host, Nicolette Richer. And on today's show, I am so excited to have Danielle Arsenault from Pachavega on with us. Welcome, Danielle.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
It is a pleasure, especially because you are in the heat right now. Let everyone know where you are chiming in from.
I am on the beautiful island of Ometepe, and this island is a magical island in Lake Nicaragua, where there are two volcanoes. I'm actually sitting in between two volcanoes. One is active and one is dormant.
Wow. How many times does active one go off?
It hasn't gone off for a very long time. Maybe 2004, I think, was the last eruption. Yes, but it's active. There's lava, there's sulfur and smoke, but no big action. And then the other one has a crater, a lagoon at the top of it.
Oh, amazing. And I bet there's a lot of fertile soil in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. It's clay rich on this side anyways. Right now I'm sitting on the Madeira side, and the Concepcion side, it's a little bit drier, but what they grow here is absolute abundance of incredible foods. Yeah, it's an incredible place for that.
So you are just like living the life, and I see the photos on your Instagram. It's just like such gorgeous tropical fruits and veggies, and what the kind of foods and medicine that people need access to daily is right at your fingertips, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. But one thing, there's kind of like a sneaky behind the scenes thing that people don't see when they get here, is that the locals don't eat a lot of variety that we're used to. So when you first when I first moved here, all of a sudden I was like, where's my broccoli? Where's the blueberries? Like, obviously those don't grow here. So it takes a moment to sort of get into the groove of what grows here, how to use it, how to make it taste delicious. And then you can see more of an abundance when, you're not looking for kale, you're looking for amaranth leaves or cranberry hibiscus or katuk, three things that I'd never even heard of when I first arrived here.
Amazing. And I love amaranth. I've been eating it for years, but even just the other day, I made it for breakfast for a friend of mine who had said they'd never even heard of it. And it is true. Like there's, I say this in every show, we have 350,000 plus edible plant species on the planet, and we might eat 30 of them and see at the grocery store. So, I mean, there's just such a wealth of, gorgeousness out there. And I love that you are getting access to more of that than what we're used to.
Yeah, it's been really beautiful to just taste the subtle nuances between different kinds of pineapples or, the bananas. Wow. We in North America, we're eating pretty much one type of banana, which is the Cavendish banana. It's been engineered to be seedless. Whereas here, there's 20 types of bananas growing within a kilometer squared region, including cuadrados and other different types. Like there's what is it? Strawberry banana. No, I don't even know the types. There's so many different types. I don't even know them all.
Yeah, and they're so delicious, and some of them you cook them and they're just incredible as like a meal in itself. And whereas here we just usually throw them in our sports bag as, a dose of potassium. And yeah, no appreciation for like the fact that it is one of many, many, many types. But same with broccoli and tomatoes and absolutely everything, right? There's
Yeah.
just hundreds of varieties of all of these beautiful foods.
Mm-hmm.
So Danielle, you started Pachavega. So let's go back to when you first started getting into food as medicine, food as health, food as divinity. We were just chatting earlier just about how you are carving out a new niche as well for yourself. But let's go back to the beginning as to when food really, took the front seat in your life.
Yeah. And what's really amazing is that it just like all these different circumstances came to me in my life at that moment to sort of show me the way forward. Okay, so let's go all the way back to the very beginning. I'll try to make it quick and exciting. When I was 17 years old, my friend went vegetarian. I was like, wow, what's that? Oh, okay, well, I didn't really like meat that much anyway, so I'm going to do what you're doing. So at the very beginning, my introduction was through uh, through my peer group, and then I didn't really know anything about health at that time, besides what I'd learned through my family. And we were quite healthy, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Standard American diet, but on the healthy side. So still, my parents were cautious of oil, like over fried, and they would buy the boneless, skinless chicken breast instead of so there was a bit of consciousness there. But yeah, I remember not liking the smell of like meat cooking. I just didn't like the smell of it. I remember having to leave the house one day, and then my mom, she's like, "I put the spices in. You can come back." I'm like, "Oh, now it smells like onion and garlic in here. Okay, now I can kind of handle it." Um, and then didn't really think much of it. I was a cheese lover. I still am, but I love cashew cheese.
Right.
We
Yeah.
could talk about that. Yeah, so cheese, quesadillas, these types of things. I ended up moving to Mexico to complete my teaching degree, and I discovered rock climbing. And at the same time, I actually got a little bit of an insight into what was happening within factory farming.
Mm.
And at that point, I was 24 years old, and I just said, I don't want any part of this. Like,
Yeah.
if my choices are contributing to that much suffering, I just don't want to even be a part of it. So right there, I went totally vegan, almost a little extreme because I felt like I just needed to do it fully. So I got rid of all my leather belts. I got rid of my leather shoes. I got rid of my feathers. I got rid of my wool. Well, I didn't get rid of it. I donated it
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
passed it on. Since then I've welcomed in, maybe a pair of good used hiking boots that I find at a thrift store that have leather, or my mom has a sweater that's wool from New Zealand that she bought at a thrift store before I was born.
Right.
So there's some consciousness there again of like, okay, where did this thing come from?
Yeah.
And yeah,
Well,
like
I
I'm not.
think that is ultimately, and I'm the same. I hate using labels because they do not, there's too many definitions for every single label, especially in the food world. Whether you are vegan or nutritarian, or if you are, it can mean so many different things if you're vegetarian. So it's way better just to tell people, get into a deep conversation, say, this is what I have for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. These are the purchasing choices I make. And it is an interesting thing about why I've never, even though we have a vegan restaurant for, 100% health reasons first, environmental and animal rights issues, all together. But for myself, I can't say vegan because I love the Reuse It Center, and I think that leather and wool products and linen, they're truly the most sustainable if we're not killing animals to make any more, because there's enough of it on the planet. But if you're going to the Reuse It Center, thrift stores, I mean, leather purses, bags, jackets, belts, shoes last decades and decades, versus a lot of these plastic vegan products that are coming out that are like that stuff will be there for a billion years, but damaged. Like it doesn't hold its shape, it cracks, it tears. And so it's just become like another fashion material. And I'm not okay with that at
Yeah,
all. Because
I
from an
agree on that one.
environmental and health perspective, it is not good for you, good for our planet. So I'm glad
Yeah.
that you brought that up as well, because of the fact that ultimately reducing our consumption and reusing probably are the two things that will save this planet.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're okay, this cow is already dead.
Yeah,
All right, I did not, my choices didn't contribute to its death and its suffering.
no,
But now this product is there and it's a good quality product. It's a solid product. Yeah. So I'm not going to go buy something new because then that technically keeps that cycle going.
exactly.
But if it's at the thrift store,
Yeah,
I mean, this is like my mom's sweater.
yeah,
It's like it's that concept of we're not contributing more, but we're honoring the life of the creature that died by using it to its
exactly.
full extent
Exactly.
until it falls apart,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
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 No,
Yeah.
I'm glad that you
So
brought that up. So what, at the time when you did become a vegetarian and then vegan, would you say from everything that you know now to back then, were you the healthy type? Were you
no, of course not. I just cut all animal products out of my diet.
right?
And then what
Yeah,
did I have left? Beans. I mean, I was in Mexico at the time.
that's good.
So it was actually great being in Mexico at the time because I realized most Mexican foods traditionally are plant-based. There's the
Exactly.
guacamole, the salsa, the corn tortillas, the frijoles. So I was able to keep eating like relatively well, but that wasn't on my radar.
Yeah.
I was starting to rock climb and I actually got really good really fast. Within a year, I was climbing just as hard as some people that had been for 10 years.
Yeah.
And so this gave me a confidence boost. But then I kept getting, after you go climbing or at the crag, when you're hanging out, you're eating some food, or you go out to a restaurant after you're done because you're exhausted and tired and hungry. And, I'd always get the comment like, oh, like, you can't, this is not sustainable. Like, if you eat that vegan food, you're not going to grow muscle.
Right.
And so I was like, I don't believe that. Like, there's got to be people that don't want to eat animal products in the world that want to be healthy that are also athletes. Like, there's
Yeah.
got to be. And so I went down that sort of track of like, wow, not only are there athletes, plant-based athletes, there are plant-based athletes that are killing it and they're winning, and Scott Jurek, the ultra marathon runner. I mean, for some people that might know these names like Venus Williams, even Mike Tyson. I mean, like these people, there's more and more and more all the time that are switching because they've realized not only can they grow muscle, but their recovery time increases. There's less inflammation in the body. So, yeah, I mean, we could go down that route too
Yeah.
of like the protein question. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's the question comes from just a simple a lack of education or just an
Yeah.
ignorance of not knowing where the protein comes from in the first place, which is plants.
Yeah, which is
So,
plants. The protein
yeah,
comes from the plants, folks. It's all in there. It's in the romaine lettuce, the carrots, the beans, the rice, the most unlikely things. You can't have a food on the planet that's not protein unless it's synthesized in a lab and not real, I suppose. But
Gatorade, does Gatorade have protein?
yeah, I don't know exactly, like, but it's really hard to not get protein unless you're only eating iceberg lettuce. Yeah, you're not going to make your protein needs if you're just living on iceberg lettuce. But if you have a diversity of foods and you
Yeah.
just eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner regularly, whatever snacks you want, if you want them or not, desserts if you want them or not, they all contain protein.
Yeah.
I have to say that I'm glad that you were climbing and you had these people who were questioning you, because I imagine that's what sent you down the rabbit hole to be like, okay,
100%.
I need to explain this better, right?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I basically was like, oh, I'm not gonna make muscle. Oh shoot, I really am liking this climbing thing. I really wanna keep doing it, And like I ended up climbing in 10 countries all over the world,
amazing.
and it's a fabulous time in my life. I don't climb as much right now, for some reasons that you can share in a minute, but
Yeah,
one is a baby.
Yeah, exactly. I know I
Yeah.
was the same way too, because same thing, took up climbing one day and then that was it. Within a year, I was like climbing the face of the chief and in Squamish, and I climbing, around the world. It was the most amazing time. So
Yeah,
I can relate to that. And it's such a great community too. Like if anybody out there
really.
has not started rock climbing, I mean, there's so many gyms now that are available in communities. I really encourage people because it is such an incredible tight community. Yeah. And you
Yeah,
get
I
fit
that's what
fast.
I found. Yeah, that's what I found
Mhm.
too, and that was my hook, was the community.
Yeah.
We're speaking about community on here where I live now, but like the rock climbing community overall around the world was solid.
Yeah.
And it was inspiring, and people were living in their vans, and I was like, this is cool. They're like, pure freedom. I work 6 months of the year. I take 6 months off. I'm like, I
Yeah.
want to do that. This
Yeah.
is fun,
And you did do that, didn't
I
you?
did. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I did, and it was amazing. Like I've climbed in Thailand and South Korea and Taiwan and Turkey and Spain, Canada, Mexico, the U.S.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just was a wonderful time of my life. And I used to actually get kind of, I still feel a little bit like how I talk about it in the past, where it's like, no, it's not in the past.
Oh, I know.
It's gonna happen again soon.
Yeah,
But
and it will happen again to you. I have three girls, and all three of my girls climb. I have one she climbs every single day.
wow.
And she's literally climbing some of the most incredible stuff. And it's just so fun to see her. She's 14, and, to see her really want to be strong. So she's also weightlifting and, doing tons, like it's incredible. She's hanging off our walls doing pull-ups left, right, and center all day long.
Love it.
It is so
Love
great. So
it.
it does come back. And what's so great is we started our kids climbing like when they were, pretty much two, I think, like, they were scaling the smoke bluffs in Squamish and rappelling, down. It was amazing. So it will come back, but I tend to find now I just shuttle my kids to climbing and I'm not there necessarily as much doing it, but
Yeah.
it'll come
But
back.
that's part of life. It's like no matter how hard you try to hang on to the thing that you have, it's like
Yeah.
change is inevitable.
Yeah.
And so I've just more embraced change. And I'm like, where am I now? I'm on this beautiful island, but I did just buy land and I am going to build a bouldering cave. That's on the plan.
Yeah. Oh,
So I'm
awesome.
going to do it. Yeah.
That is
Like
so
if we can't
fantastic.
go climbing, we'll bring the climbing to us.
Yeah. And is there a lot of climbing down there?
No,
No, because it's pretty
there
flat,
are.
isn't it? For
Yeah, well, right here, I mean, there's not a lot of like vertical.
rock.
There's
Yeah.
lots of hiking for sure, tons of volcanoes to hike. And there's a couple canyons up north, and I have heard of people coming down here to like set up projects, but there's not
Mhm.
like a hub,
Right.
community climbing hub. Like you wouldn't come here to climb.
Yeah.
Yeah, in certain places like Mexico, Potrero Chico, in Sirana in Spain, like uh, Tonsai in Thailand, like these are like
Yeah.
hubs for climbing that people
Yeah.
kind of would go to.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
yet, not here, but
And so as you were traveling around the world, because you did get to go to a lot of countries, how was that to maintain a relatively healthy plant-based diet that you were on? Because you saw a lot of
yeah,
countries.
yeah. And it's like the thing I do when I travel. I find the food. So it's like
Yeah.
I get the place and I find the food. Like where's the vegan restaurant? Where's the vegetarian? Where's the
Yeah.
Buddhist restaurant? Where's the Japanese, Vietnamese, Thai, Mexican restaurants, Indian
Yeah.
restaurants? These places are all going to have vegan food probably. Yeah, so definitely it was always on like my number one thing in my mind.
Yeah.
Um, where is the food? So yeah, traveling around and finding places like back in the day, like the Lonely Planet book,
Yeah, totally.
versus the internet on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would always be a huge part of my traveling. So I would actually like choose places to stay based around the culinary environment. Like if there was more of a scene in that realm there, I would go there. But
And
yeah,
that Well, I was just going to say that is a really important point that you bring up, because so many people plan their day, like what they're going to do for work, when they're going to go to the gym, when they're going to, move kids around, or, go see a movie or meet up with friends. But I think that we need to shift this in our society, right? Where everybody's eating healthy. We have a pandemic and epidemic of chronic disease upon us. We need to be like first thing planning like our food for the next day. Like, is your fridge stocked? What are you going to put in your body? And so this is like what you are doing, like making food first, I think is like the number one tip for people.
Yeah, it is what I do. And actually, I never really even thought of that. But
Yeah.
now that you mention it, yeah, it's always on my mind. When I wake up in the morning, like days down the road, I came here to my sister's house. I didn't just pack up and leave. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pre-make cashew cheese. I got a mango salsa because she doesn't have a blender. So I'm like, mango salsa, cashew cheese, turmeric drink, some garlic sauce. Like I made it all before I came here. So now I'm here in a new kitchen without my stuff, and I've got all the food ready to go in the fridge.
Amazing.
So yeah, and like broccoli. I got some broccoli, which is hard to find here, but I found some and I got it.
Oh my God, that is awesome. I know broccoli is one of the things too that I'm like, and my whole family, it's the one staple that we all know. If we just make a huge batch of it, like the kids will, everyone will eat it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a staple. So then you have done a lot in your lifetime as you ventured through the health food world. And you have produced a ton of books. You have recipe books, which is what I love. I love that you have a sauces book, because when you do change your diet, I think that's one of the most important things, is that you have the right dips, sauces, and dressings.
Hands down. I think that is probably, next to learning how to flavor balance your food so you're able to, adjust it on the whim and like really cook from scratch, sauces are everything. And then again, like the ingredients in the sauces. So it's not just like I'm buying a sauce off the counter, off the shelf in the grocery store. I'm making my sauces from scratch out of the most nutrient dense foods I possibly can. And I'm not one that doesn't consume oil. Like I consume oil, olive oil, coconut oil, but I've been like seeing kind of in my immediate surroundings and some professional opportunities that have come up that like maybe I'm gonna like tone down the oil in some of my own recipes. But personally, I love oil. Yeah, but when you think of sauces, you could have a sauce that's made with like tahini, whole food, or you can have a sauce made with oil, and it can be almost the exact same sauce, but like one is this many calories and one is this many. Now I don't need to lessen my calories. I probably need to up my calories. Although sometimes oils, they don't have a lot of nutrition either. There are pound for pound versus the actual food itself. I don't know why I went off on an oil. Oh, the sauce is the sauce.
The sauces. No, but it's really important, because what you said, and a lot of people don't realize this, and unless you've taken like, Dr. T. Colin Campbell's Center for Nutrition Studies program, or a nutrition program where they are looking at the nutrient density of food, as well as, the caloric load of food as well, then you're not going to know that. You're just going to go to the store and be like, here's a salad dressing in a bottle, I'm going to buy it. And meanwhile, not knowing that every time you do that, like you want it, for every teaspoon of food you put in your body, you want it to be packed with the most amount of nutrients. That's a nutritarian lifestyle. Versus if you're using oils, then you are just, you've just traded the avocado for the oil and all of the beautiful nutrients, and also the beautiful fiber that comes from that food. Yeah.
Which is so essential. We could talk about fiber for a long time.
Exactly. So it's important for people to know that the oil will not provide you with those things. So opt in for the food. And of course, if you do need to bulk up, then I can see yourself, opting in for, some more caloric dense food like oils. But a lot of people don't even have to once they figure out how to eat really well. So, okay, so you have all of these amazing books. So now that came out before or after the climbing accident. Let's talk about that.
Yes, the thing that changed everything.
Yes. Yeah, let's talk about that.
It's kind of crazy because At the moment, I was living in South Korea and I was teaching at a university and I had 4 months vacation a year, which was amazing. So I was on a 2 month hiatus and I had gone to, where did I go that year? Oh, yes, I went to Turkey and obviously that's where the accident happened. And I went to Vienna and I went to, yeah, Austria and Germany. And I was in Turkey and okay, the books, all that stuff happened after the Turkey accident. Um, because that was like a catalyst for change for me, for sure. So I was eating this, I was vegan. I was eating actually quite healthy at the time. And like I said, it's kind of this weird timing because I had started to write these cookbooks with my neighbor. She was just a home cook, but she was or she still is, a beautiful photographer. Her style is so classic and she's so beautiful herself inside and out. And just what a wonderful woman. Her name is Jessica Perlasa. And together we created this series called The Kitchens of Pinch and Dash. And so I was Dash and she was Pinch. And, we would knock on each other's doors and like share like fun recipes that we'd created from the new things we found in the Korean market. And it got really exciting for us. And then we would hike every morning as exercise. So we had a little mountain kind of / hill behind where we lived. And so we would do this hike together. We started brainstorming, oh, well, what if we put some of our recipes together in a little book? Because there was an event coming up called Women Create. So we're like, let's be part of this event. I'm hosting it. We can put our book there. And we called it Share Autumn from the Kitchens of Pinch and Dash. Nice. And we brought it to this event and we just got them printed from a local printer. So there's no ISBN numbers on them or they're not registered. And they're phenomenally beautiful because her photos are just awesome. I mean, some photos are mine too, but I would say that the style came from her for sure. And yeah, and the recipes are like half recipes are mine, half the recipes are hers. But so we put out this book called Share Autumn. And then the first question everyone had was, when is winter coming out?
Right.
And we were like, oh, rooster. We were like, oh, we didn't think about that. And then we're like, well, if we do winter, we have to do spring and summer too. So we committed to that and we created all 4 books. And yeah, so it's Share Autumn, Hibernate Winter, Awake Spring, and Bounty Summer.
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
then we like launched them every 3 months. And then as we were about to get ready to launch the 4th one, Bounty, lots of people started asking us like, oh, can I like contribute? And prior to that, like the first 3 books, it was just our recipes and we didn't have anyone else's recipes. So we thought, well, why don't we just open up this last book for everyone else's recipes? So then all of our friends and like all these other people from Canada, from South Korea, from Haiti, I was in Haiti at the time for a couple months, they contributed recipes. And so we've got, yeah, this collection at the end that was a contribution of different people. So we created these books. And in the middle of that whole process, took a year, I went to Turkey by myself, right outside the door.
Love it.
So I went by myself to Turkey on a climbing trip to a well-known climbing area that would have a lot of people climbing there, called Gek Bayiri, which is near Antalya in the south. Yeah, near the water. And I went there and I was there for about 5 days and I met this guy, Sang, and what a great person. And we decided to start climbing together because he was there alone as well. So we started climbing together and one day we went to this area where there was a bunch of cave climbing. Mm-hmm. So, you're climbing like upside down and hanging on tufas and stalactites and things like that. And we
all good. I love it. Let's bring nature into the podcast.
Totally. You might hear some monkeys as well, but I'll let you know. Yeah, so we started climbing in this cave and there was this girl there, Karen. She had just climbed this route and I was kind of in awe. So I was like, wow, you're so strong and wow, it's amazing. Like I was like, yeah, girl, way to go, because it looked really hard. And she goes, why don't you try it? I was like, oh, it's a bit like hard for me that one, like that level. But I was like, nah, screw it. If she can do it, I can do it. So I got on the climb and I climbed pretty much to the end, but you've climbed, and for your listeners that don't know what I'm talking about, but it's called pumped. And it's when like your forearm muscle gets so much lactic acid buildup that you literally can't even close your hand. So I'm at the top of this climb in a cave, half half upside down, and I'm hanging on for my life, and the anchor's literally right here, right behind my head, and all I have to do is lean forward, pull the rope, and clip it. And my hands won't close, so I can't lean because my hands are opening like this. Ugh. So basically, my climbing partner said, you're gonna have to take a fall. I got you. It's going to be a really big fall, but you're going to be fine. And I'm just like, oh my God. And at that point, it was like, okay, this is going to be the biggest fall I've ever taken. And, if you've never fallen rock climbing, it's scary because you're falling backwards into the unknown. Can't see where you're falling. It's not like you're jumping forward. So I literally had to count to three, 1, 2, 3, and push myself off the cliff. And somehow, because it was such a long fall, in the midst of the fall, the rope got caught behind my leg, flipped me upside down, and my back smashed into the wall. And I wasn't wearing a helmet, which was such a stupid thing. After that day, I always wore helmet climbing. But I wasn't wearing a helmet, so I don't know, instinctually or like everything I had heard, like cover your head. So I covered my head, and that's when my back hit the wall. Boom. If I didn't cover my head would have hit the wall for sure, and I would have died for sure. Because it was such an impactful fall because it was 7 meters.
Oh.
But I didn't fall on the ground, I fell on the rope. But the impact of the wall was pretty much like falling on the ground.
Yeah.
So instantly I broke 5 ribs, punctured my lung. And obviously I didn't know this at the time, but I knew something really bad happened. But I was completely conscious and kind of in shock because I didn't hit my head. So I was like, okay, aware. And the first thing that I said, so my partner, my climbing partner, this guy that I just met 5 days prior, he lowered me down. He was white as a ghost. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, I didn't hit my head. No, I'm not okay. We need to get out of here right now. And like, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew. And then I knew like breathing, like something was wrong, but I wasn't in that much pain because I was just in so much shock.
Yeah.
So some people came, they heard the fall. I don't know if I screamed. I can't remember that part, but my climbing partner said that he heard my bones break. So that's why he was as white as a ghost, because he knew something serious had happened. And I took an Advil, which was bad. I got in trouble at the hospital for doing that. But some people, a couple other climbers came, and I had to walk. So they tried to like strap me to this chair. It didn't work. My body was moving too much. So Karen actually says, "Why don't you try walking?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I stood up. I grabbed my body like this, and I walked down that mountain.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, my lung is filling up with fluid. And I get to the bottom, and there's a river, and on the other side of the river is the ambulance. And they're like, "You got to cross the river." I'm like, "Oh my God, are you serious? I have to cross this raging river that's like up to my knees." So like one person behind me, 2 people beside me, like slowly, little by little, crossing this river. I get to the other side, got rushed to the hospital, which was like 45 minutes on a bumpy country highway. Got to the hospital. They're like, it was like the movies, like racing you down the hallway on the stretcher with the lights. But meanwhile, I'm totally conscious. They did like X-rays right away. They did an MRI right away. And then the doctor came, and I remember he came to my right side because I remember his face in my ear, and he said, "We know what's wrong. You have five broken ribs and a punctured lung, and we need to do emergency surgery right now." And I was like, "When?" "Right now." And literally the anesthesiologist walked in, grabbed my arm. I was like, and I looked at my climbing partner. I said, "Don't call my parents, call my insurance." And like, that was it. And I was like out. And half an hour later, I woke up with a tube in my chest, and my lung was draining, and the surgery was a success. And yeah, it was like I spent 10 days in the hospital on a respirator because I couldn't breathe on my own. And just like to get out of the bed and go to the bathroom was like the hardest thing ever. It took me like 10 minutes just to like sit up because there was a tube in my body. So like anytime it moved, it was like scratching my insides, like not comfortable. But yeah, through that experience, it was like everything shifted because it made me realize that I didn't die and that you could like we, us, me, you, we all could die at any moment. Like climbing isn't actually inherently that dangerous.
No.
Deaths in climbing for the people who climb on a regular basis isn't common. Like,
No.
and even bad falls. I mean,
No.
people can fall regularly if you know what you're doing. You could fall multiple times a day and it's fine. But yeah, it just so happened I had an accident, you know? And yeah, at that point, it was like my creativity kind of just shot through the roof. I just did all the things I wanted to do, not in that sense, but more of in a sense of like, what am I waiting for? Like, why am I waiting for someone else to tell me that I can make a music album, that I can write 4 cookbooks, that I can start my own business? Like, why don't I just go for it? I almost died.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring this up because there is I was just reading about this. My daughter, she's 17 and she just started learning how to give people tattoos. So she gave me like I was the first big one she did, and then she gave a huge one to my husband, like right up and down his arm, and it's just awesome. But so of course now my husband and I are like, what's our next tattoo? Because we have this free tattoo artist in our house. All we had to do was buy her a gun and some ink and all the equipment and supplies. So one of the ones that she's going to give me is a tattoo that's called Memento Mori. And Memento Mori, for anybody who doesn't know what that is and what Danielle is talking about, it's
remember that you'll die.
it's knowing that death is upon us at any moment, and it's the only one true constant in life. From the moment anything is born, the only sure thing is that it will die, and you want to hold that at the forefront of your being, because it's what liberates you to go write the books, create the documentary, go climb the highest mountain, go after your dream job, go ask that person around the corner out, because guess what? It doesn't even matter. We're all going to die anyway. And it could happen tomorrow. It can happen like, in a second. So take advantage of this precious, incredible life that you're given. That's what it is. Yeah. So I love that you brought that up. That is incredible timing. Yeah.
Yeah. And like a lot of people are afraid of death. I mean, especially what's going on in the world right now, people are afraid, but it's like, now is the time to make the changes you've always wanted to.
Yeah.
Now is the time to do the thing that you've been telling yourself you want to do your whole life. And I know these people specifically, I'm not going to call them out, but do the thing that you want to do, because you're going to die.
You're going to die.
But then you think about, okay, well, I'm going to die, but maybe I'm going to die in 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years from now. But how do you want to live then?
Yeah.
Do you want to live sick and tired and groggy and feel like shit, pardon my language, feel like crap? Yeah. And do you want to, or do you want to thrive? And then this is where the piece of the food comes in. Because the food is the fuel that allows you to live the life that you've always wanted to live. Because your mind is sharp, because your body doesn't hurt, because you have energy, because you're motivated. I don't know, like food gives positivity to me anyways. When I feel good and I'm energized, like food is medicine.
Food is medicine. And let's talk about the energy part too, because I think this is something that people, I don't know, I get that studying food and nutrition, I've been studying it for, I don't know how long now, like it's been 20 plus years. You've been studying it for an exceptionally long time. You've been teaching it in schools, you have workshops, you have books, you have all of this. So some people will be like, well, you study nutrition, I don't get it. I think this part about energy is the simplest concept for people to understand. It is literally like drinking like, I
The
don't want to say
elixir.
battery acid, but it's like elixir. Your food has a plus and a minus sign on every single molecule that's out there. And these like magnesium rich foods, people usually are like, why should I eat greens? Well, you eat it because literally it is full of these plus and minus signs. And when they come together, it's like power, it's energy, it's magnetism, it is chemical energy. And so if you want to increase your energy, you've got to eat the food that has like that electrical charge to it, right? Or the negative ion, and they're going to meet the other one and they're going to form these chemical reactions that are going to fuel you. Like you don't need to know what a carrot is, like whether it
No,
has zinc or magnesium or
just eat
anything.
it.
Just freaking eat the
Just eat
freaking
it.
real food.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I remember my partner, he would always say, he's like, I don't care, no. Just give me the food. Just give me the
Yeah.
salad. I'll
Yeah.
eat the salad. I know it's good for me, but I don't care about the yeah. And so that's the thing. Yes, I've studied nutrition. Yes, I know so much, but because that's my role in the
Yeah.
world and it's my deepest passion to
Yeah.
share this knowledge. So I have to know. And and even when you say that, it's like, but I still don't know everything. Like I'm a lifelong student. I will keep reading books. I will keep learning. I learn stuff all the time, like new stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yes, I have my like base of things that I've known for a long time, but I'm just constantly adding to that repertoire of knowledge. But yeah, like you said, just eat it because maybe it will take years and years to study nutrition, but it's literally instantaneous
Yeah.
when you put that food in your mouth and you eat
Yeah.
it.
And on
And
the
people notice the difference.
Yes, and I was just going to say that. And on the flip side, if you, and this is everyone. No, I always say this, I can crush a bag of chips, no problem. And even if they're organic and vegan, they're
Mhm.
still full of a lot of
Yeah.
crap unless you've sliced your potatoes yourself and baked them in the oven. Okay, if they come in a bag that's on a shelf and that bag can last a year or 2 years before it's open, like that is not food. So the
Right.
thing is that that the food that is processed and refined and that it's had all this other, preservatives added to it, it doesn't have that plus minus potential the way the carrot or the potato or the squash or the daikon or whatever else has, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And
because it's not alive.
no, it's not living. It doesn't have the beautiful fiber and the bacteria that's healthy and important for you, and all the other like the plethora of like 150 plus minerals, vitamins, nutrients, amino acids. So like it is an energy thing. And this is the only thing that we teach people is how to get connected to the energy of food. Then
That's your niche.
that's your niche. I
You're
know.
super you're super niche.
Or your super niche
Connect to
as
the
we were
energy of
talking.
food.
Yes, and this is yeah, so important, so important. So then
Yeah.
after you were in the hospital and here you are, like how many, it must have taken you what, weeks, months to heal? How did that work?
At least, okay. Again, a crazy story. So I have a tattoo on my leg, speaking of tattoos, of Alice in Wonderland, like as she's like my spirit animal.
I
Like
love
as her like, this curious, like wondrous, like try anything type of person. And she is falling. She's rock climbing on my leg and she's falling. And this tattoo was halfway done when I actually fell.
no.
So it was kind of spooky and weird about that whole thing. But okay, sorry, what was the question? I totally diverted. I was like, God, but my tattoo. No.
That
I
is an
just
amazing, that is crazy.
it's weird. It's
Yeah, I
weird.
got to
Yeah.
be careful about what I put on my body here next.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Don't rewrite the story before it happens. No.
No.
Um,
Yeah,
but
healing, just how you healed.
okay, yes, of course,
Yeah.
of course. So healing. So okay, this was the thing the doctor told me. I didn't even cry the whole experience. Like I didn't cry until the doctor told me you're not going to be able to climb for like 2 years. I was like, no, I have a I have a climbing trip planned like next month, like in a couple months. It's like my big yearly trip. Like I have to do this. Like I have people I'm going to meet friends and friends are going to come from all like different parts of the world that I haven't seen. And he's like, you're crazy. Like, no way. Like, you've got so much scar tissue. There's so much damage inside your body right now. Like, so I still to this day, I have two floating ribs. When I say my ribs, they're my back ribs. So it's the first
Right.
five ribs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, going down the back, pneumothoracic, right around my lung. And I learned a lot about the body too, by the
I
way.
bet.
Oh, our body is a very amazing thing.
It
Um,
is.
but yeah, two floating ribs that still haven't attached. They're still completely severed. Um, so it, in 4 months, I was climbing again.
Wow.
I went on my trip. I
Yeah.
went on my trip and I was climbing cautiously, more tenderly, less difficult, but I was still climbing.
Yeah.
And the only way that I was able to do that was because of the food that I ate.
Hmm.
There's just no way that if I had super fatty, inflammatory foods, animal products, that I would be able to heal my body. There's just no way. What I was eating was, green smoothies, juices. I was in the process of finishing this cookbook series, so I was like making all of these delicious whole gluten-free vegan foods. That's kind of what our foods are all
Yeah.
about. There's raw, there's also cooked, but I was eating just like nutrient dense, as you said, every bite considering, the nutrition behind the food. And I'm convinced that is what made me heal my body because yeah, there's just no other way. And I felt so good so fast for such a bad accident.
Yeah. And
And
I know it 100% to be true because we saw it clinically with our daughter when she broke her radial head right off of her um, forearm, and it broke off and slipped down her arm. So the top part of her bone broke off, slipped down her arm. So they had to do 3 procedures, joystick it up in there. Luckily, she didn't need a needle; it held. And but it was interesting because they asked us if we wanted to be part of a study, and this is in my book. I write about this story, and so we're like, yeah, for sure, a study on radial head fractures. Like, who doesn't want to contribute to science and knowledge? And so what happened is I knew nothing about this break. I had to learn all about it, but I knew that she'd be out of gymnastics for at least a year. The doctors also said that. So on our 3-week appointment, we went back to have the cast removed because you need to have mobility because you need blood flow in this area. It's really important. So we're like, okay, great. Get the cast off at 3 weeks. Go home. He didn't tell us that she couldn't do anything. So she's doing cartwheels and like back walkovers and back handsprings, like all of these things. And I didn't think anything. So we went back for our 6-week appointment, and he's like, okay, we need to do another x-ray. And I just happened to mention she's doing gymnastics. And he's like, no, she can't be doing gymnastics. It's impossible. So he does the x-ray and he sees that the bone is perfectly fused back together. No excesses build up of any calcium deposits. And that's it. We're disqualified from the study. Yeah. They're like, you heal too fast. And I was like, well, do you want to ask us why you think this
or
is?
how,
Yeah.
or
And
maybe share the information with all the other people so they can heal
total.
faster.
Exactly. And the thing is, they didn't ask us one single question about our lifestyle. And I mean, this is a study on kids in a certain age bracket, right? So it's not like we're studying, diverse populations. Like, it is a very closed, tight study, and didn't even ask us one question. I know, but so I know that it works, and of course it works with my clients because we reverse, so many conditions related to broken bones when they have their healing reactions, and it's because they're getting mass nutrient dense food as part of their therapy.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
even like,
cool.
yeah, I actually have another story of healing, but it's not really
Yeah.
my story, but it's our story, my partner and I. He was considered like infertile, not able to, not able, like my doctor said, bad news, not good. We went to a fertility specialist. We were sitting in his office and he comes back and he's like, you are not going to get anyone pregnant with this sperm. We're going to need you to do tests. Okay, we know he's got a problem. He's totally infertile. You though, we don't know about you. So he's like, when you get your next period, I want you to call us and we'll set up tests to make sure you don't have a problem too. And I was like, okay. I was pregnant. I was pregnant when I was sitting in that chair. And you know what I did? I took him off animal products and I fed him mostly raw, nutrient-dense, plant-based foods
Yes.
and
Yep.
also off testosterone therapy. He was doing testosterone therapy, so it was like none of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Do you want to have a baby or not? Like, if you want to have a baby,
Yeah.
you got to follow me."
Yeah.
Do
And
what
it's
I do.
exactly that, because you get blood flow down to the testes, you get blood flow to all the reproductive systems, you get your hormone system fully gets a workover and it finally starts working accurately. And I tell people, like, especially with fertility too, like we have so many people who've had babies who were told they'll never have babies.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because the first thing to happen when your body is deficient in nutrients, it's to shut down the reproductive system, because you can't go around making babies that are going to be
When you're
deficient.
sick.
And when you're
Yeah.
sick and you can't fuel that baby inside of you. And so nature's amazing. It has an amazing ability to be like, screw you, no kids for you. And then all of a sudden you can turn that around, but it's not going to happen when you're eating predominantly high processed food, high animal fat diet. It just won't happen.
Yeah, and it also doesn't happen overnight, which is like people like, oh, the stories, but it's like, hey, like food is a slow medicine. It's a slow medicine, but it's a like persistent medicine, it doesn't stop. It's not like it's a quick fix and then you go fall back. When you start to eat, or when we start to eat healthier, we will just be healthier forever. Like it just keeps going on. Yeah, so that was incredible, but the exact same thing happened. I called the fertility doctor. I was like, guess what? We're pregnant. I was actually pregnant. I didn't have to call you because I was pregnant. And he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Don't you want to know how I did it? Don't you want to know? Can I share with the people that are suffering, trying to have babies? Like, can I not share what worked for us? And, we did actually even choose specific foods that are known and have been known for centuries in different Ayurvedic and traditional Chinese medicine to be a positive influence on the reproductive system.
Amazing.
So, yeah, like goji berries. He started taking pine pollen, like sweet potatoes, avocados, things that are going to be, like pears, eggplants, just things that have been known and have been, noted to improve fertility. And so we just focused on those foods. And I got pregnant at 38 years old, never been pregnant before in my life. And it was on the 5th try.
And with a husband who is basically
Was
told he'll never make babies. Yeah, you're infertile, never make babies. That is an amazing story. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah. And
love it.
It was because he was also like, he took, which is like maybe a warning, but like he took steroids all throughout his early 20s.
Right.
And that can make you infertile because it basically tells your body it doesn't need to produce testosterone anymore, and your body stops being able to make it itself.
Yeah.
And then the man is not able to make the sperm. And so, so this was a thing that he knew. He actually knew when we met, and like after the relationship was like going on a few years, he confided to me, as we started the baby talk, he's like, actually, like, I don't think I can have children.
Right.
I was like, really? Why? And then he told me the story, and I'm okay to share this because it's not a secret. And he would, also like other people to hear the story, of course, anecdotal stories, like everybody's different, but I'm convinced that it was the food.
We've seen it happen over and over and over again through the work we do. And it's just like a woman the other day just stopped me and she was pushing a 3-year-old around. And of course, right away, I was like, whose baby is that? And she was like, it's mine, Nikki. I've been meaning to call you and tell you. Like, but of course, she got so busy wrapped up. But it was exactly that she couldn't get pregnant. She had had multiple surgeries. She tried full fertility. Nothing worked. And then she finally decided to use food as medicine, and voila. But the part that about the doctor not even asking the question, like, I know doctors are, they're not going to form causal relationships between what somebody says. They're just going to be like, okay, great, next. And it's unfortunate that they're not more curious, because if they were, this would be advanced more within the medical system. Like doctors would be prescribing food, just being like, hey, listen, get off the junk, get onto the real stuff, and then let me know how it goes.
And this is the thing, and this, and this is I think this is common knowledge, but doctors, they do their best, they're amazing at what they do, but they're just not trained in nutrition.
No.
Every doctor, I've had doctors come through my courses, and the doctors that come through my course, I know more about food than they do, guaranteed. Yeah. But when I start talking more scientifically, then usually they're like, oh yeah, that's right, that is like that. But they don't know how to make the food taste good.
Yeah.
So and they don't know. They just don't know.
And
They've
the
never been
system
trained.
isn't designed for them to integrate nutrition into their practice in a 7.5 minute appointment. And like, what are they going to do? Call up with people and be like, did you go grocery shopping today? Or do you need help making that sauce? And so that's where we need more collaboration, though, like between
Me.
people like yeah, exactly, yourself, myself, and doctors. And
Yeah.
and there is a solution to this. And it's going to take that integrated approach to be able to support patients.
Yeah, because as it like we talk about this idea of healthcare, well, it's not healthcare, it's sick care.
Yeah.
If it was healthcare, there's this ancient Chinese proverb that says, "He who, does not eat healthy wastes the time of his doctor."
Yeah.
Because basically, yeah, like that's the first thing. Like just start trying your diet. Now, after you've changed your diet and you've been on it for a while and nothing's changing, then maybe there's like something there, and maybe that needs a deeper look. But yeah, the fact that food's not even a question. It's the craziest thing to me. It's the craziest thing to me that the thing you do the most every day, all day, every day of your life, multiple times a day, it doesn't affect how you are your health. It's just crazy. And then also people feel very threatened to change their lifestyle. They don't want to change. They'd rather do the most invasive, crazy, expensive, it's hard to heal from surgery or whatever than to just change the way they eat.
But don't you also find, though, that people do not even understand the connection between food and their body? And people also do not understand the connection between a chronic disease and the fact that they actually have it. Like, I have so many people who will be like, oh, I just wanted to learn a little bit more about food and nutrition. And then we get into their health history and they're on multiple pills. And I'm like, these are diagnoses from the doctor with prescription medications, and they don't think of them as actually being a chronic illness. Right. It's just this is just who I am. Yeah, this is just my lot in life. And there's that happens, which that also needs to be communicated differently, to let people know that you do not have to live with this.
Yeah, and the diagnosis that you get, like that can be really heavy on people, especially very sensitive, emotional people.
Yeah.
Like I know people, I know, I can particularly, the first thing is a person that I know, a girl that I know, that, the diagnosis, like doom and gloom changed, like just like, like that's my fate.
Yeah.
No, this is your wake up call.
Totally.
This is your chance to change, this is not your fate. But people take it on as their fate. They identify with it. And then suddenly they're getting both their boobs removed and all their insides removed because that's what the doctor said.
Yeah. Instead of changing.
And then they're drinking beer.
Yeah.
Because they got back from their chemo and they're drinking beer and they're having fried chicken wings.
Yeah.
What? I mean,
but this is because how have we built an education system, which we can talk about how brutal our compulsory education system is. It is like without measure, doesn't teach our kids really anything. But we've built a system where even the parents don't have the knowledge to educate their kids about what real food is and how to eat it. And this is a systemic issue. Like, it's not, you got the diagnosis, this is your fault issue. This is a complete systemic issue that coincides with the way our medical system has been created over the last few hundred years, the way our industrialized food system has been created over the last, few hundred years, the way our education system, like it's all interconnected. And something needs to change drastically, because I know you're hustling your ass out there, like educating, people and educating physicians. But I mean, this is a systemic freaking issue that needs to be. It has to be.
I think we just need to zoom out like a little bit more, and like, okay, like, what is this thing? We're again, like you said, the disconnection between food and the body, but disconnection between food and where it comes from.
Yeah.
Also, like box, package, store. No, like where, and this is why I always encourage my students, like, what is the backstory of that food? Because even the most healthiest foods, they may have a nasty backstory. Like it's, this superfood, but like, whoa, this superfood, did you know, or what's this superfood's involved with? Like cacao as an example, like there's cacao in the world that's still cultivated in like slave labor with children.
Yeah.
So all consider the backstory. A food is not just a food, right? Like
Yeah.
even the bananas, like I see these guys here. I'm here in banana country. These guys work their butts off from sun up to sundown in the heat, and they get paid $5 a day.
Yeah.
We're working 14 hours a day. Like it's
Yeah.
insane. And it's just that's another thing. It's like being here and living in Nicaragua has really opened my eyes up to like a lot of that stuff. Like a lot of the sesame that's grown here, which is a superfood. They ship it off island and sell it to McDonald's for their hamburger buns.
Yeah. For their hamburger. I know. And this is a part too, like you bring up a really good point, is that following that backstory is so critical. Because I used to always say in presentations when people would say, well, really organic, not organic, whatever, like it doesn't matter. But you follow that backstory to where that food is being grown, and you're going to see fathers of young children in the fields, mothers of young children in the fields, literally as like the pesticide sprays are going onto the fields and they're inhaling it. Then they go home, they hug their kids with their clothes covered in pesticides. And then they wonder why these kids are born with like so many mental and physical challenges, right? And it's
And
the direct,
sometimes the kids
and
are out there helping.
yeah, and
Sometimes the
cancers.
kids are in
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so who cares, like if you have to pay a little bit more for some organic food in your prestigious, Whole Foods restaurant or whatever, like follow the backstory and you'll see that even if you're not doing it for your own health, do it for their health.
Yeah, and every time you do make a purchase that your conscience is clear because because you've educated yourself, you're you know informally voting for a better future. And so
Exactly.
when we all do that, then the organic becomes less expensive and it becomes more available. Yeah, I know, I agree. Like there's always the argument that it costs more, but think about it. It does cost more.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it
it does
does.
cost more because
Yeah.
there's more care. Like even here on the island, you can't convince, that's not true, it's changing, but it's very hard to convince an islander to grow organic rice because it's so much more work.
Yeah.
It's just not, yields may be the same, but the work involved because of the care, because you can't just spray and walk away. You have to always watch for pests. And there are organic like fertilizers and things like that, which they can use. But yeah, it's like you're by paying a little bit more, you're actually giving these people a little bit better of a life. And
Yeah.
if and like I see it all day long, every day, how these people live, and I I am always helping as much as I possibly can. I'm probably way too empathetic and sensitive and compassionate because it's hard. I cry even sometimes, just
Yeah.
like how hard of a life that is lived, and they don't complain.
Yeah.
They're happy. They're smiling. They're doing the best they can. They're
Yeah.
going day by day. My daughter plays alongside with the daughters that are living in dire poverty.
Yeah.
They're friends. They laugh.
So for everyone, just because, being in Nicaragua and we different power systems, different internet systems, we are going to wrap this one up. But there is, but based going off what you were saying, though, I think, I actually think farming is a medicine for a lot of people. Like a lot of us in the Western countries, developed countries. I hate using those words, but I think getting our hands back into the soil, getting out there, working hard days outside, breathing fresh air, getting your microbiome uplifted with your fingers in the soil and breathing up that dust. I mean, it's a cure in medicine, I think, for a lot of the ailments that are affecting people who get in their car and go to the grocery store and just whatever, go shopping.
And I'm like all about how tasty food, but it's
Yes.
like what I'm seeing is on like Instagram, Facebook, like a lot of these influencers, there's no like depth.
Yeah.
It's like, look at this tasty food.
I
I like
know.
my food. It's like, okay, but what else? Like,
Yeah.
what else?
Yeah.
It's too shallow for me. And like I want to go deeper. Like
Yeah.
the food, it's not just the food. Yes, it tastes good. That's where we start. We start with
Yeah.
tasty food. But the layers are just like, there's so many layers to it. And then
Yeah.
really at the core of all those layers is really how it affects your inside
Exactly.
mental space
Yeah.
because you're eating the food, I don't know, maybe that's just me in my life right now and like the people I'm surrounded with, but
I
I
see it all the
feel
time with my clients because when they come into learning about food as medicine, they become very clinical with it. And I'm like, just wait, you also have to have a relationship with it. Like it needs to be an experience when you do the grocery shopping, when you're chopping, like it's not just a chore, like to be like, oh, I got to make this. And people are like, oh, it's spent too much time in the kitchen. Okay, well, let's talk about that because, you want to have help, but at the same time, you don't want to contribute to it. And so it's reforming all of these, reworking our ideas around that. Like, we went from women being in the kitchen to then women being in the workforce, nobody being in the kitchen. And now it's like, somebody's got to be in the kitchen.
somebody's got to be in the kitchen.
Who's going to be,
Yeah, yeah.
and you can't be in
Wow.
there with hate and like, and I'm chopping carrots, as opposed to like, I am nourishing my family. I am nourishing this planet through these food decisions that I'm making and purchasing options. And so I
Yeah.
think that soulfulness. And then of course, sitting down, like I eat fast sometimes and I'm eating on the go while I'm like working at the computer. But also like having like mindful eating and,
Yeah.
right. This is all
3
part of
breaths
healing.
before we eat. This is what we do
Totally.
in my courses. If people
Yeah.
come to my retreats, if people come to the raw food chef certification course, every meal we sit down, we settle, we take 3 deep breaths together, and then we eat
Yes.
together, instead
Yeah.
of me trying to wrap up stuff in the kitchen and I'm coming back and
Yeah.
half the people are done eating, and it's like, no, we do it all together because it's this moment of 3 deep breaths to do whatever you need. Not
Yes.
only like kicks up your parasympathetic nervous system and calms your
Totally.
sympathetic nervous system, but it also gives you a moment to be grateful,
Yeah.
or just that moment of like, wow, so much energy went into this food, from the growing it to
Mm-hmm.
us just preparing it,
Yeah.
and now I'm not going to mindlessly devour it. I'm going to
Exactly.
slowly chew, because chewing is good for digestion,
Yeah.
and I'm going to, be a little bit more conscious. And same, I totally sometimes, if I'm didn't even think about what I just
Yeah.
ate. And this is human nature. This is kind of what when I say we, many
Yeah.
people have been brought up to do, just eat and then
Yeah.
and whatever. But yeah, it's a moment where we can give thanks too,
Yeah.
like wow, I actually get to eat.
Yeah.
And not only do I get to eat, but I get to eat this delicious flavor balance. And not only that, but I get to eat pineapple when I live in Canada. Oh my gosh, by the way, I've got the sweetest pineapple right here.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
waiting to eat that all this whole call.
Oh my gosh. I wish I was eating that. I could just smell the aroma from it actually. Like I just know tropical would be amazing
This one
pineapple.
is off the charts. Like,
Wow.
I don't think people in Canada, if you buy pineapple in Canada, like, you just don't know.
Oh, it's hit or miss too. And that's the most disappointing thing. You're just like,
Yeah,
oh, whereas, yeah. Oh
no,
my gosh. I know. No, I think you're on the right path for sure because that needs to be brought back. And the interesting thing, like as you were talking, it just made me realize when religion was more predominant through most households. I mean, everybody used to pray before they hold hands, they take breaths, they, have gratitude for the food and where it came from. Like it's all of those things. But now it's
yeah,
like reintroducing that without the concept of like one God as opposed to like creator and spirit and
yeah,
and just or take that even out of it. And it's just like,
yeah,
you can just be grateful and, honor the earth for providing this food and the farmers and everything. So
yeah,
it is that reworking of, there's good things to a lot of religions and, we're going to leave the bad, keep the good and just
yeah,
reintroducing that into people's lives.
exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't
As
have,
the
yeah,
sun starts shining down on your head. I loved what we were talking about at the very beginning of this podcast, and this deliciousness meets self-actualization. The food has the power to change lives. Piece. I think that this is really, really critical, and I just, yeah, there's so much work to be done, and I'm just so happy that you are doing this work in the world.
yeah, it's a holistic view. Like, the deeper I go into the food and how it heals the body, the way we think, our mental space, how we treat ourselves, how we treat others, how we treat the planet, how we treat animals, like every single aspect of life is connected, because the food that we eat happens every day. And
Every
we
day.
can't, I mean, yes, we can do a fast and sure we can, but food is part of life. And so why not eat the most nutrient dense food possible? Why not eat the food that's going to build health versus make us sicker? And, you know, Anne Wigmore, she's a huge sort of, she's a person that I really, really look up to. She's no longer with us, but she would say that the food you eat can either be the most detrimental form of poison or the most powerful medicine.
Yeah.
And so with every choice that you make, try to make a better choice. But then also realize you're human.
And you're
And
human.
You might eat a bag of chips. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Next,
Yeah.
tomorrow, juice.
Tomorrow, juice. Exactly. And
go to Green Mustache, have a juice.
yeah. And also for everybody just to know that Danielle and I didn't get to this place overnight. It's been a journey. And so know that about yourself. Stop beating yourself up about it, about like, am I doing this right? And, or, you know, you just want to, every decision that you make, the next bite, the next moment, just, you know, just make a better choice. That's all that you can do. And just keep learning and, you know, and then share this knowledge with others because they need to start their healing journey as well into using food as medicine, food for deliciousness and food for fun and health and everything else. How can people find you?
Well, I'm always available through my online course, pachavega.com, Pachavega.com. And do you hear that?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah. And we're going to put it in the show notes as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So you can find me online, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. But basically, yeah, my mission in life is to share this power of food with my students and to empower them to be able to take it on, own it, and go forward in the world. So to be able to, be empowered to make those changes and then understand how to make the food delicious so it becomes sustainable. And that is the biggest part is, you know, my brother even said to me, he's like, Danielle, I don't care how healthy the food is. If it doesn't taste good, I'm not going to eat it.
Yeah.
And that's true. And that's what I love about my course is people come through my course learning about food, learning about nutrition, but they don't realize how tasty the food can actually be and how much knowledge that they thought they knew that they're relearning.
Yeah.
But busting myths, you know, busting the myths behind some of these nutrition rumors.
I love it.
Yeah. And just going deep into how food can heal the body and then how to make that food taste good.
Amazing, amazing. And everyone head over to Danielle's website because she offers incredible courses that are online, in person, retreats. There's a raw food chef certification, a 21-day gut reset challenge, heal and ignite masterclass. Like there's just so much good stuff. Recipe books as well. So you got to get your hands on that. Really great place to start. And eat this way, you'll see your chronic diseases melting away. It's, you know, that's what we do here at Eat Real to Heal. So thank you so much, Danielle, for being on the show, sharing your wisdom, your story. It has been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. And as promised, an amazing podcast with an incredible human being who is living her life to the fullest, being of complete service to help other people learn about plant-based whole food as medicine so that they can heal as well. It's why I love having these guests on our show. You know what to do. Press the share button, press the send button, the little up arrow. Go send this podcast out to anybody that you know that needs to learn from Danielle, especially about how her husband overcame infertility, which is an amazing story. So you definitely want to share this with everybody that you know out there. And of course, if you know of anybody or yourself that would like to sign up for our nutrition and detox program and our chef course, please head over to our website, greenmustache.com, and sign up today. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week.